There was something unsettling about him. He wasn't loud, he wasn't tall, he didn't have the build of a prodigy. In a world obsessed with athleticism and power, Lionel Messi looked like he had wandered onto the pitch by mistake. Hair covering his face, socks hanging loose, head down like he didn't want to be seen. If you were looking for the next superstar, you wouldn't have picked him out of a crowd.
Sí, nombre y apellido.
Lionel Messi.
El mejor jugador de la cancha, fuiste elegido por nosotros dos, ¿sabías?
No.
¿Te acordás cómo fuiste? ¿Cómo fueron los goles para contarle a la cámara?
El segundo, me acuerdo.
Segundo, bueno, a ver, contale.
Saca el lateral Federico Rosso, Grigini la toca para Luca me la devuelve atrás y le pego ahí.
Le pegaste 2 goles y te nació tu Messi. ¿A quién le querés dedicar este campeonato?
A mi papá, a mi tío y a toda mi familia, a todos los que me conocen.
Bueno, gracias.
Me llamo Lionel Messi, tengo 13 años. Muy lindo, sí. Estar allá, jugar en el Barcelona, pensar club más grande del mundo.
And that was your first mistake. Because the thing about ghosts is, you never see him coming. When he first arrived at La Masia, Barcelona's legendary youth academy, he barely spoke, not to the staff, not to the coaches, not even to his teammates. He let his feet do the talking, and what they said made everyone shut up. Coaches would go home talking about him like they'd seen a glitch in the Matrix. He didn't move like the others, he didn't think like the others. Everything was faster, sharper, like his brain was playing a different sport and his body was just trying to keep up. No one could understand how someone so small, so fragile looking, could be so ruthless with the ball. They knew they had something special, but no one knew what was coming. Messi made his official first team debut for Barcelona on November 16, 2003, in a friendly against Porto. He was 16, skinny, baby-faced, forgettable, until he touched the ball. In that moment, the pitch bent toward him. Time slowed. Veterans gave him space they wouldn't have given to anyone else, not out of respect, but because they couldn't figure out what he was about to do. And when he did it, it was too late. But the real arrival came on May 1st, 2005. Albacete. Messi came off the bench wearing number 30 with the weight of 1,000 dreams sitting on his back. Barcelona were already winning, but the crowd wasn't satisfied. They wanted to see the kid, the one the players whispered about, the one Ronaldinho smiled at during training, like he knew he was witnessing something bigger than himself. A teenage Lionel Messi became the youngest goal scorer in Barcelona's history.
Messi is a fantastic guy, he's a fantastic player. He's in the history of football.
Recuerda mi nombre, Leo Messi.
He wasn't like the others. The Galacticos had glitz. The Ronaldos and Zlatans had size and swagger. But Messi had something no one else did. Silence. Not just in his demeanor, but in his game. He didn't explode, he slipped past you. Before you reacted, he was already gone. A blur of movement and ideas you couldn't predict, let alone stop. Defenders tried everything. They kicked him, pulled him, trapped him between 2 or 3, but it didn't matter. He glided through gaps that didn't exist, like water through clenched fists. He didn't overpower you, he made you doubt your own footing. He made you guess. And the moment you guessed, he was gone. Veterans started watching him with a different kind of respect. Not the kind you give to a rising talent, but the kind you give to someone who sees the game from higher ground. Ronaldinho passed him the torch. Xavi and Iniesta made space for him, and the rest of the team slowly started playing to his rhythm. Barcelona was no longer about the system. It was about the kid who turned the system into poetry. And yet, there was no noise, no brash interviews, no celebrations that screamed for attention. Messi scored and looked down. He was the future of the sport, and he was only getting started. Watching prime Lionel Messi was like watching a glitch in real time. Something didn't add up. The way he moved, the way defenders collapsed around him, the way his body obeyed laws no one else could follow. It was football, but it wasn't normal. He didn't just break ankles, he broke logic. You could study him frame by frame and still not understand how he did what he did. At Camp Nou, surrounded by the world's best, Messi looked like he was bending the rules of reality. It always started the same way. A low center of gravity, head down, ball glued to his foot like it had nowhere else to be, and then it would happen. A quick feint, a shoulder drop, and he'd be gone. Not with power, not with brute force, but with something that made defenders hesitate for half a second, and that was all he needed. His acceleration wasn't just fast, it was impossible. Like he didn't run so much as teleport between touches. You blinked and he was on the other side of the field with the ball still attached to his left foot. He could turn while moving at full speed and still manage to play the softest of passes. He'd be surrounded by 3 players, body tilted, off balance, and still thread a ball between 2 defenders with the outside of his foot like it was nothing. Physics teaches you that certain things aren't supposed to be possible. A man of Messi's size isn't supposed to win shoulder duels against 6-foot defenders. A player who barely jumps isn't supposed to win headers in Champions League finals. A dribble, once slowed down and analyzed, shouldn't make sense. But with Messi, nothing ever made sense. He broke momentum. He made time feel like it was under his command. Every step had intention. Every touch had its own internal rhythm. While others chased the ball, Messi was already calculating 3 passes ahead. You could hear it in the crowd. That collective inhale every time he picked up the ball just outside the box. That moment when everyone leaned forward because they knew this could be one of those runs. The kind where 4 defenders go missing. The kind where even the camera operator loses track of him. And when it happened, there was no roar, no chaos, just awe. Because you knew you just witnessed something that shouldn't be real. At Camp Nou, Messi didn't play football. He manipulated it. He worked the pitch to fit his movement. Broke tackles, broke formations, broke defenders' confidence. He didn't just beat teams. He bent the laws that govern the game and left everyone staring at the replay, still trying to make sense of what they just saw. And then there's 2012, the year Lionel Messi stopped being human. 91 goals in a single calendar year, not in some lower-tier league or exhibition matches, but across the highest level of football. League, Cup, Champions League, international duty, every pitch became his personal playground. Every net, a formality. It didn't just break records, it broke belief. You hear the number and it sounds like a glitch. 91. Most strikers don't reach that in 5 seasons. But Messi did it in 12 months, without ever looking like he was chasing it. The goals came from everywhere. Left foot, right foot, headers, solo runs, tap-ins, free kicks that curled like they were following GPS instructions. There was no pattern, no limit, just a blur of brilliance that became a routine. It didn't feel like news anymore. Messi scored again? Of course he did. In La Liga alone, he netted 59, in the Champions League 13, for Argentina 12 more. Every team that faced him that year had the same post-match expression. He wasn't playing for numbers, he was playing because it's what he was born to do. The numbers just followed. That year wasn't just greatness, it was something else entirely, something that shouldn't have been possible. But he made it real. There's humiliation, and then there's what Lionel Messi did to world-class defenders. Reputations didn't matter, experience didn't matter. He didn't care if you were the captain of Italy or the best fullback in Spain. If you stood in front of him with the ball at his feet, you were just another obstacle. And with Messi, obstacles weren't avoided, they were erased. He didn't dribble like others. Most players beat a man with a trick or a burst of pace. Messi didn't need either. His touch was so tight, so exact, that he could glide past defenders without even touching the ball twice. A body feint here, a subtle shoulder drop there, and suddenly one of the world's best was spinning in the wrong direction. He didn't dance around you, he passed through you, as if he already knew your balance point, your weak foot, your moment of hesitation, as if you had no secrets from him. Messi has a strange relationship with the goalpost. Shots that curved past 5 defenders only to clip the bar. Solo runs that left the keeper crawling, only to be cleared off the line at the last second. These aren't bloopers, they're art pieces with an unfinished brushstroke. Even in imperfection, Messi touched something higher, because with Messi, the magic wasn't always in the finish. It was in the story of the move, the build-up, the vision, the impossibility of it all. He wasn't just a Barcelona player, he was their nightmare in flesh and blood, the Clasico killer. He didn't need motivation. The fixture brought it for him. The heat, the hatred, the headlines. And yet, in all that noise, Messi played with a coldness that set him apart. Then came the moment. The one that would be replayed forever. Messi received the ball with his back to goal, 30 yards out. Boateng standing between him and immortality. He nudges the ball forward. Then he pauses. Not because he needs to, but because he's reading. Calculating. One shimmy, a drop of the shoulder, Boateng moves to follow, and then he's gone. Not just beaten, collapsed. Like a string had been cut from his spine, a professional defender, one of the world's best, reduced to a meme by a moment of movement so subtle, People weren't screaming, they were gasping, laughing in shock, because this wasn't a goal. It was a moment suspended in time, one of those sequences where your brain has to catch up with your eyes. Boateng hit the ground like he'd been unplugged, and Messi didn't even look back. He didn't taunt, didn't shout. He just turned around, walked calmly toward the corner flag. Every great player has a weakness, a flaw, a blind spot that defenders can target or critics can cling to. With Lionel Messi, it was supposed to be his right foot. They said he was too one-dimensional, too reliant on that wand of a left, as if scoring 700 goals with one foot somehow made him incomplete, as if the most dominant footballer of his generation needed symmetry to be perfect. But the truth is, Messi's game wasn't about balance. It was about mastery, and he didn't need both feet, he just needed the one. You could show him inside, you could show him outside, you could cut off his angles, close down his passing lanes, or try to block the shot. It didn't matter. Because what Messi had in that left foot was more than power or technique. It was control, command, an entire library of solutions living in one limb. He could pass with it, shoot with it, chip with it, bend the ball around 4 defenders and a goalkeeper like it had been pre-programmed. And he did it so consistently, with so little effort, that it stopped being questioned. The ball obeyed him like it was part of him, a living extension of thought and instinct. When most players see a crowded box, they panic. Messi saw possibility. He'd glide past one challenge, pivot between 2 more, and slot the ball into the corner like it was a training drill, all on the left. Every inch of the pitch, every angle, every tight corridor, they all bowed to that left foot. And yet the right was never useless. He used it when he had to, when it made more sense, but only on his terms. He once volleyed in a right-footed goal from outside the box against Osasuna, chipped Neuer with his right in a World Cup match, slotted home with his weaker side in Champions League knockouts like it was nothing. He didn't rely on it because he didn't need to, but when it came time, it was always there, polished enough to do the job. What made it all more absurd was how defenders still planned for it. They'd stack the left side, double up, force him onto his weaker foot, as if that was a victory. But Messi didn't fight your trap. He invited it. And once you overcommitted, he'd slide past you anyway, or play the impossible pass, or dink the perfect assist. You couldn't win. Not because he had 2 weapons, but because the one he had was better than anything you'd seen. He redefined what it meant to be predictable. Everyone knew what he was going to do. They just couldn't stop it. And that's what made Messi different. He didn't need to be two-footed because he wasn't playing the same game as everyone else. He was painting with one brush and still creating masterpieces.